Hi everyone, this is HM&S video number 40 and you're most welcome for it. Last video we talked about how we can use Vlookup function in Excel. Today we want to talk about the most tested part of Vlookup during an interview. That's looking up something from another worksheet or even from another file or another workbook using what's called an external reference. Let's switch on to Excel and we dive deeper into how we can use external reference. Now before we do anything, let me first click on Vlookup function. This is a worksheet we used last video. So last video we used this lookup table here and this respondent ID here to bring these names of the respondent from this lookup table. But look at this, the lookup table and the master table, they were all existing in one sheet. But today we want to see how we can use the Vlookup to look up something from another worksheet. So let's click on the sheet, Vlookup, another sheet. Click. Now we have in the same master table here, we want to use this respondent ID to bring the names of the respondent on this column here. But guess what? We are going to use the same lookup table which is in this worksheet. And we take this respondent's name from this worksheet to when I click on this worksheet to this master table which is in another worksheet. Now if you're looking up something from another worksheet, you need to start from the master table. That's the table where you want to bring something to. So I'm going to click on this cell equals to VL for Vlookup, tab to select it. Now for the lookup value, we're going to give it the ID. Now comma. Now our table array is in another worksheet. You need to click on this worksheet where your table array or the lookup table is located. So watch what will happen if I click on this worksheet. So I'm going to click on Vlookup function worksheet. So when I click on it, our screen tip is here. So I'm going to click and drag it up. You can see also on single quote, it has put for us the worksheet name. And at the end of it, the exclamation marks. That's actually what's called a worksheet reference. So all you need to do is to highlight your table or the lookup table. And if you do that, you can see it has put for you the range where the table is located. Now you can see when you do a worksheet reference, it comes as a relative reference. That's why you are not seeing any $ before E or 14. So you need to hit the F4 key if you want it to be an absolute reference. As you can see, we now have the $. Now the biggest mistake most of the people always make, because we started our formula from this worksheet, people always want to end the formula from that worksheet. So when you decide to click back on this worksheet, watch what will happen. Immediately I click on this worksheet, you can see everything jumps back to this worksheet. But also on the formula you can see now our worksheet name has changed. It's now Vlookup another sheet, which is the worksheet name for the current worksheet where we're working on. And you can also see the range is empty. But no problem, if you want to finish up your work from this worksheet where you started from, you can actually come to the formula bar, click carefully, and change the worksheet name to the worksheet you want. For example, I'm going to backspace and change it to Vlookup function. Now, this Vlookup function is exactly the name of the worksheet where the table is located. But I want you to realize that immediately you click back on this worksheet, the reference changes from absolute reference to relative reference. So it's now a relative reference. That's why you cannot see the $. So immediately you click from one sheet to another sheet, Excel actually changes the reference to a relative reference, even if it was absolute reference before. So if you want absolute reference, you're going to need to come. I'm going to highlight just the colon and hit the F4 key to put the $ and make it absolute. So I'm going to click at the end and then comma. Now for the column index number, you remember from the table we highlighted on the other sheet, the name of the respondent was on the second column. So I'm going to put 2 for the column index number. And then comma, for the range lookup, we want exact match. So I'm going to down arrow to select exact match, tab to select it, close my bracket. Now when I control enter, you can see it works very well when you change the name of the worksheet to the correct worksheet. So I'm going to copy my formula down. You can see it's working very well. But guess what? For me, it doesn't do it like that. Let me first control Z to undo that. Again, if you do equals to VL for Vlookup, tab to select it. The lookup value, I'm still going to look up the respondent ID, comma. Now for the table array, I'm going to click back on this worksheet. It puts for me the worksheet name. I'm going to highlight my table array, which is this table. Now I'm going to hit the F4 key to lock it so that it's an absolute cell reference. Let me first scroll this screen tip up. Now in this first example, we click back on this worksheet before putting the comma. But guess what? If you put the comma, you can see our lookup table is here, the table array. The column index number, the names of the respondents is on the second column. But guess what? If you want to finish up our work again from the other worksheet, after putting the comma, we need to first click back again to this worksheet where we started from. So I'm going to click. Now, if you do that, since we already put the comma, for the column index number, it will again put for you the full name of the worksheet on the column index number, as you can see, which is actually very wrong. If you decide just to put there 2 after this exclamation marks, this is actually very wrong. It will not work. You need to again delete the entire worksheet name like this. Then for the column index number, you put there 2, comma, then you down arrow for exact match, tap to select it, close your bracket. Now if you do it like that and control enter, this one will work, then you copy it down. But again, you might have realized that there is actually too much deleting of the worksheet name when you do it like that. So I'm going to do Control Z, Z again. Now the way I'm going to show you right now is how I always do it, and how most of the people always do it. So I'm going to click equals to VL, tab to select Vlookup. The lookup value is going to be this respondent ID, comma. When it comes to the table array, since our table array is on this worksheet, so I'm going to click on this worksheet. It still puts for me the worksheet name on. So I'm going to highlight my range like this. I'm going to hit the F4 key to lock it. Then if I scroll up this screen tip. Now, if you don't want to delete any worksheet name, there's actually no need for you to click back again on the worksheet where you started. You simply need to finish up everything from this worksheet. So I'm going to click on this and type comma. Now our lookup table is here. So the column we want is column 2. So for the column index number, I'm going to type 2. And then comma, I'm going to down arrow for exact match, tab to select it. So I'm going to close my bracket. Now we started from the other worksheet where the master table is located. We finish everything from this worksheet where the master table is not located. But watch what will happen if I control enter. It jumps me back to the worksheet where the master table is located, and it works correctly. So I simply need to double click and copy it down, as you can see, and it works very well. So that's how you can do exact match when your lookup table is in another worksheet. Now let's scroll down and we see how we can also do approximate match when our lookup table is in another worksheet. But before we do that, let me first click back on this Vlookup function worksheet. Last video we also saw how we can do approximate match using Vlookup, and this is exactly what we did. We use this table here, this is the lookup table, to bring this commission to this column here. Then if you just highlight this, Control C to copy it, I'm going to click on this worksheet here. So I'm going to right click, then I'm going to go to these options here, and the second option is here, copy as values only. I'm going to click. Now I want to copy this one as values only because I don't want to bring the formulas we used last video. Let me also copy the field name or the table header. Control C, click on this worksheet, click here, Control V. So I'm going to come to borders, click, and give it all borders. Now put this one here just for us to confirm that it works very well. So I'm going to click on this cell and start everything from this worksheet. So I'm going to do equals to VL for Vlookup tab. Now our lookup value is going to be this revenue, comma, the table array. My table array is on this worksheet, so I'm going to click on this worksheet. First of all, I'm going to scroll up this screen tip and put it here. Now it has put for me in single quotes the worksheet name and the exclamation mark, that's the worksheet reference. I simply need to highlight my table array like this. It's a relative cell reference. I'm going to hit the F4 key to lock it. Then comma, the column index number, I'm just going to count 1, 2. The commission is on the second column, so I'm going to put there 2. And then comma, now we are doing approximate match here. I need to put there true for approximate match, or I can even use 1. Or you can even leave it out since Vlookup does approximate match by default. But guess what? I'm going to hit tab to select true. Now when I close my bracket, remember I'm finishing everything from this worksheet. I simply need to click Control Enter, and Vlookup will actually jumps me back to this worksheet where the master table is located. Then I need to double click and copy my formula down. You can see it is working actually very well. We can confirm from what we got last video that it has actually worked very well. Now that's actually when your lookup table is in another worksheet, but on the same workbook or on the same file. What if your lookup table is actually in another workbook, not even in the same file? Can you also do it? Yes, you can do it. So let's scroll up and we see an example of that. We're going to do the same exact match lookup that we did here, but our lookup table, we are not going to pick it from this worksheet. we're going to pick it from another workbook. Now let me first show you the workbook. Now on this folder workbook, which is also found in another folder HF Microsoft, we have this file called HM&S Forte Vlookup. That is a file that's having our lookup table. Now what you need to do, if your lookup table is in another file, you need to first open that file before you start doing the Vlookup. So I'm going to double click on this file to open it. So double click and wait for it to open. Now you can see from the name bar, HM&S Forte Vlookup is open and it has only one table, and that is the lookup table we want. So let's get back to the other file. Now we are on this file HM&S Workbook 2 where we are working. So I'm going to click on this cell and do equals to VL for Vlookup, tab to select it. Our lookup value is still going to be the respondent ID. So comma. Now the table array is in another workbook or another file. So I'm going to go up to that file. Now since the file is open, you can use Alt tab. That's a keyboard shortcut that's used to navigate between open windows on your computer. Now this is the lookup table. I'm simply going to highlight the lookup table like this, or the table array. Now the reference has changed. This is what is called an external reference. You can see it has put for me in square bracket the workbook name or the file name. You can see from here HM&S Forte Vlookup, that is the file name. It has put that one in square bracket, and it has put for me the file extension. All those one it has put for me in square bracket, and then after the square bracket it has put for me the worksheet name. Then after the worksheet name, it has put for me the exclamation marks, and both the workbook name and the worksheet name it has put in single quotes. Then exclamation marks, now the range. By default, when you're doing an external reference or you're looking up something from another file or another workbook, it comes as an absolute reference. If you click back again to the other file, maybe you want to finish up everything from that file. This time around, it doesn't change anything. Let me show you. I'm going to hit Alt tab to go back to that file. You can see we are back to this file, but our external reference has not changed in any way. The workbook name is still the same. The worksheet name is still the same, and even the range is still the same. Even the cell reference is still absolute, so nothing has actually changed. So I'm going to come to the end, do comma. Now for the column index number, we remember it was in the second column, so I'm going to put there 2, and then comma. I'm going to down arrow for exact match, tab to select it, then I'm going to close my bracket. Now when I control enter, you can see it has put for me the name correctly. I simply need to drag it down to copy my formula down. As you can see, it works. So you can actually use Vlookup to look up something which is in another worksheet or even in another workbook or another file, the way we did it on this video. Now there's one thing that I want to show you. What will happen if we close the other workbook? So I'm going to Alt tab to go to that workbook. So I'm going to close this. So I'm going to click on this X to close it. Now immediately you close that, our formula actually is working. That's why we are still having these names here. But instead of putting for us the file name, it's actually putting for us the file path. So this is now the file path where the file is located. It is located in local disk E in a folder called HF Microsoft. And inside that folder HF Microsoft, it's also located on a folder called Workbook. And on that folder, that's where now the file is located. Now if we come to this, you can see it is on local disk E in a folder called HF Microsoft. And on that folder called HF Microsoft, there's another folder called Workbook. That's where the file is located. And now you can see the file. So that's exactly the same file path you can see here. Now after the file path, it puts for you now the file name, the worksheet name, and then the reference. So even if you close the other workbook where the lookup table is located, the formula still works. Yeah, that is it for this video. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And if you found this video interesting, give it a like, then you share it with your friends. This is a video where we talked about how to use Vlookup. You can click on it, then you go and watch it. Until next video, HM&S video number 41, then we meet again. Thank you.